Hero Safari, the 10-year contract story episode 2. The unbroken vow echoes of the past fading legacy. The contract papers lay unsigned. Dhruva's gaze shifted between Sabari and Swapna, but Sabari's mind was already elsewhere. He could not shake off the image of Kavya's tearful face from 10 years ago, the night she had begged him to save her. That memory burned brighter than the promise of freedom. Leaving the papers behind, Sabari walked out. His feet carried him through the narrow lanes until he reached Kavya's modest home. The laughter of children spilled out from the veranda, and for a moment, his heart softened. His sister was safe. Her children were happy. He had kept his promise. But when Kavya opened the door, the warmth of that thought vanished. Her smile faltered. Anna, you're here. Is it over? Sabari entered, his tone hushed, shaking with a decade of silence. Why didn't you ever tell me the whole truth, Kavya? That night, you pleaded with me. You wept as if the world was coming to an end. I thought I was rescuing you from a man's threats. But Swapna, she says it was not about deaths only. It was larger, darker. What did you keep from me? Kavya's hands shook as she held onto the fold of her sari. She faced away, but her silence spoke volumes. Kavya, Sabari's voice cracked. Did you push me into this deal without knowing it was not just a deal? Without knowing Swapna had an agenda. Her eyes welled up with tears. At last, she breathed softly. I didn't say it all, Anna, because I was afraid you'd say no. And if you said no, I would have lost not only my family, but you. Sabari's heart contracted. What are you saying? Kavya dropped to the floor, weeping. Went on and threatened you. He was not a creditor alone. He was connected to Swapna's family. They needed control over her, and they wanted to ruin us along the way. She presented the contract as a shield for both of us. I went along, Anna. I made you bear the weight because I didn't have the strength to resist. I used you. Words cut deeper than blade. Sabari recoiled, the burden of betrayal heavier than the 10 years that had weighed upon him. All those sleepless nights he had told himself his sacrifice was honorable, for family, for love, now fell to dust. He hadn't signed the contract just for his sister's sake. He signed because she had kept the truth hidden, using his love for her survival. In the doorway, small feet tapped. Kavya's kids came running in. Their pure voices shouting, Mama, Mama. They hugged her, their eyes wide with the sight of her crying. Sabari stepped away, his chest searing. He couldn't stand their innocence against the indecency of the truth. Outside, the sky was clouding up though it was still afternoon. The storm that had broken 10 years before was far from finished. And somewhere, Sabari knew this wasn't for him, or for Swapna, or even for Kavya. It was for something much greater, something still tucked away in the darkness of the agreement. Sabari went home with a tempest brewing in his heart. Kavya's words rang like thunder inside his head. I used you, Anna, to save myself. The house was still. Swapna stood against the window, her profile edged against the waning light. She didn't turn when Sabari came in, but her voice cut through the silence. You went to her, didn't you? Sabari's fists were balled. You knew all along. You and my sister, you both bound me to this agreement without ever revealing the truth to me. Swapna turned then, her eyes cold and tired. Think that this was all about her debts. About my pride. Sabari, this was about survival. Yours, hers, mine. A decade ago, if you had not signed, you would all be dead. Sabari was stuck. The words were too cold, too definite to be a fabrication. What are you talking about? He asked, his voice quivering. Swapna moved towards him cautiously, each step measured. My family wasn't greedy, Sabari. They were cruel. My uncles ruled everything, business, politics, even crime. The man who threatened your sister wasn't a creditor, he was their hand. They exploited her need to shatter you. Shatter me. If you had denied me that night, they would have destroyed your family to smithereens. And me with it. Her voice dropped, shaking for the first time in years. So I did what I could do, bound you to me. Contract marriage. Made you untouchable under my father's shadow. For 10 years, they couldn't put their hands on you, or her, or those children. They hated you. They hated me. But they couldn't touch us. Sabari stepped backward, reeling. He had believed himself a captive for 10 years. But now, could it be that the cage had been his safeguard as well? Why didn't you tell me? He thundered, his voice shattering. Swapna's eyes seared with held back tears. Because the truth would have shattered you even before the contract could start. Sometimes silence is the best armor. Daruva walked in just then, the contract papers in hand. His eyes darted between them nervously. Sabari, Swapna, I've gone through the clauses once more. There's something funny. A line tucked into the fine print. It wasn't there in the drafts I worked on. Sabari grabbed the papers and read them with shaking hands. At the bottom, in italics, in small letters, was a clause he had not read before. At the end of 10 years, the husband shall lose all right to freedom if so desired by the wife, holding him forever bound by renewal without his consent. Sabari's blood turned cold. He stared at Swapna, his voice trembling. What is this? Did you intend to hold me a prisoner forever? Swapna's face went white. Her mouth opened, but no sound issued forth. For the first time in a decade, she was afraid. The words on the page glared at Sabari like fire-forged shackles. Renewal without permission. The atmosphere seemed to be choking, heavy. His chest puffed with fury. So it was never a question of 10 years. I was never supposed to be free. Was I just a pawn in your games, Swapna? A nameless shadow you could use until the end of time. Swapna's face went white. Her lips shook, and for the first time ever, she didn't put on her armor of control. She extended her hand, but Sabari retreated. Tell me the truth, he bellowed, his voice ringing off the deserted corridors. Her hand dropped. Her shoulders slumped. And then, as if something deep within her finally broke, she breathed. No, Sabari. That provision, I didn't insert it. I never wanted to hold you captive for all time. Sabari's eyes blazed with incredulity. 10 years, Swapna. 10 years of silence. 10 years of estrangement. And now you think I'll believe you. For the first time in 10 years, her facade shattered utterly. Tears brimmed over in her eyes, trickling down her cheeks like streams shattering stone. She faced away, her voice trembling. Do you imagine it was easy for me to see you each day, living as a stranger in the same house? To yearn to speak, to touch you, but be aware that if I ever showed softness, they would kill us both. I couldn't risk love, Sabari. Not at that time. Not when each step I made had eyes upon it. Her voice was shaking with unseen feelings. But I saw you. Every sacrifice. Every silence. Every dream you sacrificed for your sister, for me. You think I was cold because I didn't care. But the truth is, I cared too much. And if I had let myself feel, I would have broken long ago. Sabari's breath caught. For years, he had imagined her heart was ice. Now, he stood in front of a woman bleeding silently in the shadows of her own war. Daruva, who had been silently watching, finally spoke. Sabari, I've seen hundreds of contracts. But I've never seen eyes lie less than hers do now. That hidden clause, it wasn't her. It was planted by someone else. Someone who wanted this cage to last forever. Sabari turned back to Swapna, his anger softening into something heavier, more painful, confusion. Swapna stepped closer, her voice raw. I wanted you to be free after these 10 years. Free to live your life, free to hate me if you must. But I never wanted you bound to me for all eternity. Believe that, if nothing else. Her tears sparkled in the faint light. For the first time, Sabari saw the truth he had never dared to think about. Behind her silence and regulations, Swapna had been bearing her own chains. But whose hand wrote that clause? And why should they have Sabari sent to prison for life? Hero Safari, the 10-year contract story, episode 3 to be continued.